In this tutorial, I want to cover how to use a file to add your tag numbers and hardware sets for a door and hardware schedule. And to get to that feature, you go to the schedule or the file that you want to add the numbers to. And I've already entered some information here. This is a new job. If I click on the Add Schedule Tags, you can still go through the normal procedure of adding files that we've covered before in a previous tutorial. Or you can click this button here. Now, before we can use this button, we need to create the file that it will need, that it's going to ask for to import these numbers. And that will be an Excel file. So the point is, if there's any way you can get your door schedule into an Excel spreadsheet, you're that much farther ahead of the game. Since that's not always a viable option, another way you can do it is by using a third-party tool. And there are many of them out there, so I'm not going to cover them all. I'm just going to cover one particular product that's called Abby. That's ABBYY. And that's this program here. And this program allows you to work with PDF files. You can even, you can see here, convert it to Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel. And again, there's many other products out there that will do this, but we're only going to cover how to use Abby to do this. All right, so this is Abby FineReader 15. It's the standard version. Now, there is a free trial. You can try it without any credit card information or anything if you just want to see if it'll work for you. I think it'll work for like 30 days. Now, I have, of course, the full version here. And once you install it, then you're going to see an option. I'm going to show you some different things, a couple different ways of doing this. And the first one is you want to go to the where your bid plans, the file that your bid plans are in. And I've got this first one here as an example. And if I right-click on it, because I have installed Abby, if I right-click on it, you can see I have an option here to edit with Abby FineReader 15. So I'm going to go ahead. Now, you can do this to convert it. You have the option right there to convert this to an Excel document, but I wouldn't do that. The reason is this is a full set of plans. You don't need the full set of plans in an Excel spreadsheet. You only need the door schedule. So we're just going to edit right here. And when I do that, it opens up. See if I can get this back down into the window where we can see it. Now, large PDF files, you can see everything kind of jerks around a little bit. It does slow your system down because there's a lot of data here, a lot of information. Now, I already know where the schedule is on this particular file. I think it's on page 22. So I'm going to go on down to page 22. And I'm going to click on it here. Now, I'll tell you right now, not all PDF files are created equal that you're going to get from Architects. They're all different. Some of them work great, very simple to use. Others, you have a little bit of work to do to get it into an Excel spreadsheet. This particular one is one of the easier ones. And I say that because you can see right there is a door schedule. This isn't a very big job, but process works the same no matter what size the schedule is. Now, with this particular file, I can take my cursor, my mouse. If I hold the left mouse button down, you can see I can draw a box around the entire schedule. And if I let it go, I have to get this option that says Copy As. The first one is Copy as an Image, Text, and Table. I want to use the Table option. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This will go through its process through Abby. It's going through and recognizing the text and everything and creating a table out of this portion of the schedule. Again, I don't want to do the whole document. So you can see it also popped up a message there, copied to clipboard. So this has already been copied for me. So now I can open up Excel and we'll go to a blank Excel worksheet. Let me get this down into the window here. And I'll go up here and I'll click in the first box, then I'll right click, and then I'll click paste. Now I didn't even click. As soon as I moved my mouse over paste, you can see it blew everything in there. And if it looks good, then I'll go ahead and click on it. And now you can see I have all the data in an Excel spreadsheet. Now, there's a couple things here. We need to make some adjustments on this file. And I picked this one because it has some good examples to go through with you to show some of the things you might run into. First, let me go back over to, here we go, let's go back over to the door and hardware schedule. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, get from file. You can see the files or the fields that we're going to be concerned with are tag number, hardware set number, room 1, room 2, door elevation, frame elevation, and remarks. These are the text fields that can be used in this process. So it's not going to give you the opportunity to import everything. For example, material, and mainly because if you look at material, that uses a drop down. And of course this is blank now because I haven't selected anything. But these are drop down fields which have to be populated. And they use particular fields that are coming out of your database, which you can add to and things like that. Now maybe at a later time we're going to add the capability to add those fields in too, but it would also mean that we're going to have to somehow match up the fields because they may not match exactly. The architect may not have used text that matches exactly on what we have in our database. So, like I said, the only fields we're going to be concerned with are elevation. Now we haven't done size yet. That will also come later. But we have where was I? The tag numbers. We have room to room, if it's available, and hardware set number. Those are the two big ones there: tag number and hardware set number. If you can get those in without going through all this process here, especially on a large project where you have 100, 500 different openings, this can save you quite a bit of time. So let's get back over to our Excel spreadsheet. So you can see we've got everything moved in here. Now, the thing we need to do now is we need to eliminate some fields, some rows. We don't need this up here. We don't need this door frame and fire column, or row rather. So I'm going to go over here on the far left-hand side with my left mouse button, click with the left mouse button, hold it down, and scroll down to the second row, and then right-click on it with the right mouse button, and I'm going to click delete because we don't want those fields there. The only thing we want in this first row are the column names. All right, now a couple other things I need to point out here on these column names. Again, the only fields, columns we're going to be interested in are the tag number, field pair. This one here, this particular file has pair. We can't use that. We're not using size or thickness or type. We are using elevation. But you can see here, if I click on this column name, it's called elevation, and that was elevation. Let's go back here. Let's add these back in. You can see that's the elevation for the door. Over here you have elevation again, but that's for the frame. But they're both the same name. So these should be renamed. And that's so that when Portal Pro gets around to importing this spreadsheet, it's going to know which columns to go after for what fields. So I'm going to change this. You want to come up here into this field up here. Let's click in the very beginning. I'm going to change this to door, DR space. Just call that one door elevation. And this one, just for clarity, I'm going to go ahead and type FR for frame elevation. Okay, so the other fields we're not really concerned about are this glass type, the frame, or rather head, jamb, and sill. So there's several things we can do here. If you really want to make it simple, you can leave them if you like. It doesn't really matter. But there's some other things we need to do to clean up this data. Now, the first one is, you can see over here for the hardware set, it has the word set in front of each number. Really don't want, at least I wouldn't want the word set for the hardware set number on every set. That actually just takes up space, especially if you had 50 or 100 different hardware sets. See, if you recall, that needs to fit into a pretty small field. All right, so let's first get rid of these two top rows here. Again, I'll go ahead and delete those. We've already renamed the door and frame elevation columns. Now, again, a couple things you can do is, if you like, you can delete the columns that you're not, the ones that you know you're not going to use. Like, I could take all of these out. You can see I put my mouse up here where the letters are and just click on it, and it automatically highlights that entire row. If I hold the mouse button down, the left mouse button, I can drag across and select multiple columns at once. And then I can right click on it and click delete. And that takes it out of the spreadsheet altogether. Now, you don't have to do that. You can leave them there because it's it won't even look at those columns. I'll leave the rest of them here so you can see what I'm referring to. Okay, so getting back over here, we have now I'm going to, if you click on this corner triangle right here, you can see it highlights everything. Then if you move your mouse in between two of the columns until you get that symbol right there, and then double click with your left mouse button, it'll automatically size the fields according to the largest entry. So it makes it a little bit easier to read. So I'll just click on one of the columns here. Now, I'm going to show you a couple things you can do with Excel. We're going to add a new column in between hardware and rating. So I'm going to do that by putting my mouse up here in the K column over rating. I'm going to right click and then click insert. So now you can see I have an empty column here. So Excel comes with an awful lot of different formulas. So you can do a lot of different things with Excel. So I'm just going to show you a couple. So what we want to do is take that word set out of all of these hardware sets. And to do that, I come into this first cell here, not up here where the column name is, but down here next to the first set number. And I'm going to start typing. The first thing I want to type is the equal sign. Now, the equal sign allows me to start using Excel formulas. So I'm going to start typing a formula that I want. It's called substitute. So if I type SUB, you can see right there it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on it, substitute. Double click actually. And you can see the substitute is looking for some parameters. The first one is text. Text will be the text from this first cell here. And then the new text, old text, and then the new text. This instance number, we can leave that blank. So the text we want to substitute will be this J column, row 2. So you can see how I get to that. There's 2 in J. So I'm going to type right here, J2. That tells me what cell I want to do the substitute in. Now I'm going to type a comma, You see it highlighted old text. So it wants to know what text do I want to substitute. So I'll just put a space here. I don't even think you have to put a space. I'm going to use quotes because I want to put quotes and then type the word set and then end quote. Now to another comma, and now it wants to know what new text do I want. Actually, I'm going to go back. I want the word set and then the space, because you can see there's a space between the set and the one. So if I hit my space bar here, you can see I put a space in there. So I want to take out all of that text. So now it wants to know what text do I want to put in. I want to put in a blank. So I'll just do two double quotes with no spacing. And now I'll do a close parentheses. And there's my formula. And now if I hit the enter key on the keyboard, I'll show you what happens. You see it substituted and it created or added that text here. Now I want to do that all the way down. So I want to come into this first cell. I'm going to hold the control key down on the keyboard and click on the letter C. You see it's telling the system to copy whatever's in that cell, which is going to be this formula here. Now I'm going to click on the next cell underneath of it and just drag down with my left mouse button all the way down. Now I'm going to do hold the control key down on the keyboard and then hit the letter V as in Victor, and that will paste that formula in all the way down. You can see it just left the text that was already there in this particular cell. Now, I don't want to leave this like this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and click in the first column. You can come all the way down to the last cell and hold the Shift key down on the keyboard and then click here. You can see it clicked, highlighted every. So if you're doing a really large spreadsheet, that's how you can get every cell in between. Again, let me go over that again. If I click in this first cell here, I hold the Shift key down and then come down to the last cell. And if it was way down here, I would come down wherever the last cell is, hold the Shift key down and click in that last cell. It automatically highlights all those fields. Now I'm going to do a Control C. Again, that's a control key on your keyboard and the letter C, because I want to copy all of this. You see how it's all blinking now all the way around. And then I'm going to come over here and highlight the exact same columns. But now I'm going to right click with the mouse. And this is where you want to be careful. Don't click on the paste, because that's just going to copy the formulas. Come over here to paste values, and that'll copy in the values that were created. So now if you look over here, we have a 1. In this cell, we still have that formula. All right, so that's how we got rid of that word set. So now I'm going to go ahead and highlight this whole column, right click, and click delete. Again, I highlighted a column with the left mouse button just by coming up here where the letter K is, click with my left mouse button, right click, and click delete. So now the column's gone. Now I have just what I want for the hardware set. Okay, now let's see, what else do we have? All right, so we have our Excel spreadsheet ready to go. We've fixed it up. Now, there's going to be something coming up. I'm going to leave it as is because I want to show you what happens in Portal Pro if it's not set up right. So I'm going to go ahead and do File and Save As. And let's see, we'll come in here. That was coming to the right location. I want to go back to the same folder. I think that was under bid jobs here, And CVG, here we go. I'll just go ahead and double click, keep getting into where a lot of folders here. All right, I'm going to back out. We're going to just put this right in the very beginning. Okay, so if I go to BidJobs, CVG, that's where I got the original PDF file. Click here, and I'm just going to save that. I'll leave it as book 1. You can name it however you like, whatever you want to do. Now I'm going to click on Save. All right, so I can close this now. Now what I want to do is I can come in, now that I've got my Excel spreadsheet, I can click on Get from File. And this window here opens up. Now I need to click on this button, Get File. And I need to go to where that file is that I just saved, which is, I believe, up here. BidJobs, CVG, and there it is. So I'm going to double click on this. And it brought me back here. Now what it did is it copied all of the column names out of that Excel spreadsheet and loaded them up here. So now for tag number, I want to go down the list here. Tag number, I want to match up with a column from an Excel spreadsheet where the tag numbers were. And in this case, it was number. And just to make sure, let me... Oh, I guess I'm going to have to open up the file. Here, let's open this up in Excel. Okay, so you can see the tag number is in a column called number. So that's how I want to match these up. All right, so let's put this down. So for tag number, I'm going to click this drop down. I'm going to select tag or number. For hardware set, I want to come down here. That was HDW. Room, there's nothing here to match up. So if there's nothing to match up, don't worry about it. Just leave it blank. So that's why I say you don't have to bother going through and deleting columns. You can leave them there if you want, because if you don't select anything, it's just going to look right past them. Now I know there are some schedules that will give you room numbers, even a key side number, which will come in handy for getting that data in. So then when we come to door elevation, now we know which one to select. That's door elevation. And frame elevation is frame elevation here. Remarks, if you want to do the remarks that were in that schedule, let's take a look at it real quick. There's only one schedule here. So I could leave that. Maybe I want that to show up in the door schedule, so it shows that for that tag number, it's going to be provided by others and installed by contractor. So I'll go ahead and match up remarks to comments. All right, so now we're ready to go. If all I have to do now is click on Save, and it's going to go through and put all those tag numbers and hardware set numbers and copy the door and frame elevation and comments automatically for us. So let's do that real quick. Okay, now this is what I wanted to show you. You want to pay attention to this. It says the door elevation values are longer than 5 characters. The door elevation field only takes 5 characters. So I'm going to say okay to that. So you can see nothing happened. So I come back to the Excel spreadsheet. We'll take a look at this. Door elevation here. You can see if you count those characters, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Spaces are considered characters too. So what we need to do is we need to shorten these. Now, you can do this any way you want. If you're going to change these door elevations, let's say to letters, like this A210 might be door elevation A, or maybe it'll be door elevation F, or whatever it might be. You can use that substitute command again. So you just want to make sure that when you do your door schedule that your, if you call this F, that elevation F will match whatever A1A210 is. And the same with frame elevation. You can see those numbers are too long. So we still need to make some adjustments in this Excel spreadsheet. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. We'll go ahead and do insert, and recall how to do that. You right click on the column where the letter C is. We'll click insert. That puts an empty column here. I'll click in the first cell, type the word equals, and then type substitute. Now there's an awful lot of other formulas in here. If you're familiar with Excel, you may know other ways of doing this, but this is the one I'm using here. Let me go ahead and click that real quick. So now I want to put in the text that I want, or the cell that I'm looking for, and that'll be B2. Okay, you can see I got that, B2. So I'll type B2 in the formula. And then do a comma. Now it wants to know what text do I want to replace. I can replace the entire text, if that's what you want to do, or I can just leave the 1, the 16, 15, however you want to do it. It's strictly up to you. So we're going to go ahead and we'll just replace, we're going to leave the numbers. So I'll say I want to replace the /A210, close quotes, another comma, and what text do I want to replace it with? Will be a blank. Close the parentheses, and there's my formula. Now hit enter. You can see that there's my number 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, but this time I'm only going to copy where A210 is. So again, we'll use the keyboard, hold the control key down, hit the letter C, and that copies that formula. Now I'm going to come down and only click where I see A210, which is right here. So I'm just clicking it with the left mouse button. There's only one. I can do Control V. That's V as in Victor. Oh, I was in the wrong one. That's here. Control V. There we go. You can see it didn't copy that one because it didn't find the text, so it left that one the same. Now I'm going to come back up here because I want to change the rest of these, and I'll go ahead and copy that formula. But I'm going to come up here and I'm going to edit it, and you can see I'm in this cell here. I'm going to edit this because I want to take out A240. So I'll take out that 1 and change that to 40, hit enter, and there's my formula, or there's the replacement. So again, I'm going to come into this cell, Control C to copy. Now, what I'm going to do is take my mouse, drag it down. I'm going to go ahead and use it, copy over this one. And I'm going to do Control V. Now I'm going to come down here. I'll just drag it down because I want to do the rest of them. Control V. And there you have it. So what we want to do now is copy these values. Again, I'll highlight the first cell. I'll come all the way down here to the last cell, hold the Shift key down on the keyboard, and click with my left mouse button, and it highlights everything. I'll do Control C to copy, because I want to copy everything. You see now it's swirling around all of them. I'll come in here, do the same thing. Click in the first cell, come into the last cell, and hold my Shift key down, and click. It highlights all of them. I'm going to right click with the mouse. You don't want to do Control V because you'll just be copying that formula over. So I'll right click with the mouse, and again, take the second option here where it's going to click just the values. Okay, so you can see now we just have the values. All right, so before I delete that column, I want to do the same thing to frame elevation. So I'm going to go ahead and insert an empty column here. I'll just grab this first formula, come over here, do a Control V. Now you can see it automatically changed it to F2, and it's going to replace what you can see it already did. Just by copying that into there, it automatically changes, because this used the column right before it. It uses the column right before it over here too. So I'm going to come down here to A10. I'll do Control V again to copy it. Now I'll come up here, I'll do Control C to copy this formula. And I'll do highlight all of these. Now another option you can do is, after I've highlighted those, if you hold the Control key down on your keyboard and come underneath this, now you can click more columns. Now I can do them all at once, and I'll do Control V, and you can see it copied all these for me. All right, so again, I'm going to copy this, or I'm sorry, click in the first cell, come all the way down to the bottom, hold the Shift key down, and click. Now do Control C to copy everything. Come over here, click in the first one, come down to the last one. Now right click with the mouse and paste values. So now we have our values. Now we can go ahead and delete these columns. They're not needed anymore. And we're not working with anything else, so we don't have to worry about anything. So we'll delete that one. And I am deleting these because there are no column names. I don't want it messing up with the Portal Pro when it tries to read from this file. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. All right, so there we have it. So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on Save. And now we've saved the changes that we made. This file is now ready for us to use. So go ahead and put it down. I want to go back. I want to go ahead and re-click on Get File. I'm sorry, no, I don't have to do that. Everything should I'll go ahead and match up. So now I should be able to click on Save. I guess we're still reading from the same. I was mistaken. We do have to get the file again. So I'm going to click on Get File, choose the exact same file again. Okay, this popped up because I didn't close the file, so you won't get this. You won't even see anything like this. So I'm going to go ahead and click Continue. So now we have the new file. Now we go back and select the column names. Hardware is HDW. Door elevation is door elevation, and frame elevation here. And remarks, I was going to go ahead and use that one too. All right, so now let's see what happens when we click on Save. You can see all the tag numbers popped in here. I'll go ahead and close this. And all the hardware set numbers are in here, including one here with a little dash. Now, we don't need that. We don't want that. So, and if it's, see if we can get back to that Excel spreadsheet. You can see where that came from right there under that hardware set. That was that door opening that's going to be provided by others. It had that dash in it. Now I could have deleted that when I out of the spreadsheet, and it wouldn't have used that at all. But since I left it in there, I left it in just to show you how you can update the set numbers. So that's why that happened. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to delete this dash. So I'm going to come up here under Hardware Set, and I'm going to type in the dash. And now I'm going to click on Remove Hardware Set. It's going to ask me if I'm sure this will be a permanent deletion. I'll say yes. And there you have it. It tells us that the that dash hardware set has been removed. And it's also telling us that door 210 does not have a tag number associated with it. That's okay. You can leave it at like that as is. Or if you want to create a hardware set for it, then put in a tag number, or put the tag number in rather. Come up with a hardware set number, maybe number 7 that's not being used, and create a hardware set for it, where you can show that hardware will be by others. Or like I said, just leave it blank. All right, so if we look at the door schedule form, you can see we've got all the tag numbers and set numbers. It does the quantity automatically. Door elevation. So it eliminated a lot of steps for us where we didn't have to enter those tag numbers and hardware set numbers manually. So now you just go through the normal process. You double click the first one and go ahead and add your door. All right, so now we've got however you want to enter all your information. Just going through all the exact same process you would before. Okay, and again, just add your additional tag numbers that will all have the same door and frame. So this process will work the same as before. Now, let me get back to the ABBYY program, ABBY program. There are some times, as I mentioned before, that these PDF files from architects are not all created equal. And I want to bring up another example. And let's see, I believe it's this file right here. I'm going to open up this file in ABBY by, again, I have right-click on it, and I'll come down to Edit with ABBY Fine Reader. I don't want to convert it yet because I don't want the whole thing converted to Excel. So I want to click on Edit. And you can see now we have this in ABBY. Let's make it a little bit bigger here. And this one, now you can scroll through this until you get down to where the page that the door schedule is on. Now I just happen to know this is on page 30, so I'm just going to make this save us some time. Click on it, and there's our door schedule. Now, what's different about this one that I can't do, if I take my left mouse button and hold it down, okay, now if I come down here to the copy as table, I can copy this. Now, another thing I can do is I can change this. I know I don't want this section down here. You can see there's a little square box at the bottom. If I move my mouse till I get the up and down arrow, and I can drag, you can see I can move that right underneath the last row, because I don't want the bottom part. You could even do the same up here. If I know, but I'm going to leave that for the time being because I want to show you what happens. But an option would be to drag this down. I can tell you now, these column names are not going to copy correctly. So I can drag this down and don't even bother to send those to Excel. Or just take care of it when it gets in Excel. Either way. But some other things are going to happen on this particular file. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll copy as table. And it's going through and recognizing the text from the area. This could take a minute or two, depending on the size of the schedule and how much text. There we go. So you can see it's copied to the clipboard. Now I want to come in to a new Excel file right here, and I'm going to right click and do a paste, and look what happened. We've got all this crazy text in here. Here's one here, this tag number A1. I think that might be the letter O instead of a 0 like it is up here. So you can see it didn't do a very good job of copying this data. Which means we need to clean it up. Now the first thing I'm going to do, now a couple of things you can do. Now I know I'm not going to even need any of this up here. This is really just useless to me. So I'm going to come again, start over here, drag it down. These first 4 rows, I'm just going to delete it all. Now what I'm going to do is move my mouse over here, do a right click, and do an insert. I'm going to insert a new row. So now I can type in my own column names. So I'll just do tag. I'll just leave it at that. Any other column that I think I'm going to be using, which is kind of hard to tell because there's so much stuff in here that you can't even read. Let's get back to the Abby file. Right here, if I zoom in, you can zoom into the file down here. I'll click the plus sign, move in. Let's move this over to the right and go up where I can see the column names. Now I can tell where the column names are. There's material. Type is one that I would want to use, and type is actually going to be my door type because that's under the door. You can see I have type over here, but that'll be frame type. These other columns like size, material, glass. Now here's one I could use for maybe room 1 because this is saying the room key side. Head, jam, and sill. There's label. Were any of these labeled? Yeah, there were. Well, we can't do that one anyway. And there's our hardware column. All right. And then, of course, remarks. Okay, so again, we'll come back over here. Right up to material is type for the door. So I'll just move this over a little bit. So that was this column here. So I'm going to go ahead and type door type. Okay, so the next one was where? It was after that width column, material and width, and then type for the frame. Okay, so material, let's pull this down here. So we have door type. That's the glass column we don't need. But if it helps me to tell where I'm at, let's move this up here. That way we can see both things at the same time. Move this up a little bit higher. So I can go ahead and name this just so I know where I'm at. Let's call it glass. The next one was room key side. So I'm going to call this room 1. And the next one was material. The next one was width. Next one was type, which is what I want. And then after that, I know this one's going to be hardware. I'm just going to use the word hardware. And then the last one will be remarks. So those are the ones I need. Just to make this one easier to work with, I am going to delete the columns I don't need, which will be first those two. Let's get this out of the way first. And open this back down. So we're going to delete those. I do want door type. I do not want glass. So I'll delete that column. I want room. I don't want material or width. Again, I'm dragging with my left mouse button to get both more than one column. And then I'll delete. Actually, I should have, just for clarity, I don't have to because it is a different name, but I want to do it anyway. Call this one frame type. Now, I don't want this, 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 or this. So we'll delete those. And we don't need these two. So we'll delete those. All right, so there's our schedule. And Excel will do this. Sometimes it doesn't send the text out where it should go. Again, I want to come up here and click on this little triangle, then come in between two of the columns and double click with my left mouse button. And that automatically sizes the column. So now if I wanted, I could drag this up, make it a little bit smaller so everything fits a little bit better. All right, so this file is now ready to use, but then again, it's not. Again, if you remember, some of the text didn't look correct on this, like right here. So you could leave it as is, but you might as well make it correct. I think it's using the letter O instead of the 0. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out and type a 0. And the same way with this one here. And when you move into these cells, you have to come up here to edit the actual cells. So delete that, put a 0. And just go down and make sure everything looks clean, that it's readable, and it looks like text. Again, you have things like this. Now that will copy that into the frame type column. It will copy these dashes because it's something there, or you can just click into those and delete. Or you can use the substitute command, enter a new cell, or column rather, and use the substitute command to replace that text. And when you see text like this, you may have to click into the cell, come up here and copy it for me to recognize it. In fact, I don't even know if it's going to work. Let's try it and see what happens. We'll do equals substitute, and that'll be C4 comma, oops, I had the shift key down, C4 comma. I should have copied that before I started this formula, so I'll just move out of it real quick. Well, let's start over. Let's move this over, make it bigger. I'm going to copy this first. Let's see if it'll remove that out of that cell. We'll type equals substitute, that's C4 comma quote, Control V because I want to copy that paste in, and close the quotes. And there's our formula. Let's see what happens. All right, so that did work. So So I can go down here if I wanted. I could copy that formula wherever I see those dashes. I could, this one's a little bit crazier. So either way you want to do it. Might be just as easy to go in and highlight each one of these and just start deleting, because we really don't want that showing up in our schedule. Here's one of parentheses. I don't know how that got in there. All right, so again, just some things you might have to do to clean up. Not sure why these don't have door and frame types. So these are exterior doors. Maybe they're aluminum. I'm not sure. Probably have to go back and look at the actual schedule to figure that out. Let's take a look at one of them. There's one BILL. That doesn't seem to be right. So let's come over here and look at the schedule. Come down. It's probably B111. Right there. After.
It's like gold.
Actually, it didn't use the letter B at all. It used the letter 8. So this one, you can see it has quite a bit of cleanup work. And again, you can go through and edit these, change them in the Excel spreadsheet. Just get it ready. But it will save you, it's going to save you a lot of time rather than typing all these tag numbers in and all those elevations and hardware set numbers. So I'm just curious, I want to look at this B111. Oh, that's an overhead door. That's why all this is blank. So that won't be, that will actually be provided by others probably, unless your company does overhead doors. Okay, so that should pretty well cover it. Now, there could be some other things coming up. It all depends. I know this has been kind of a little bit longer video, but these are some of the things that you'll run into. They're not all cut and dry like this one here. This one worked out really nice. Again, I could have moved this thing down right here and automatically eliminated those first 2 rows, and then copied to table. But this one copied really nice. But like I said, some of the others, and it just depends on how the architect created the PDF file that the plans are contained in. All right, so there might be other things that come up when you're using this. If you want to give us a call, we'll be more than happy to help you out, get this going. Another thing that you can do this PDF thing for is if we come back over to, where were they? Here we go. There's all the frame types. You could almost use this Abby program to, if I click on this, I could do copy as image. And well, maybe not. I thought maybe you could copy this straight from the drawings, create a PDF file from it. Now I'm sure there's a way. I haven't looked into that yet. That just came to me just as I was using this. So this is all actually fairly new to me too. But anyway, that's there's probably a way to do that. I'm sure this Abby program is a pretty powerful program when it comes to working with PDFs. So it'll come in handy for you in a lot of different ways. So if you have any questions on this, again, please feel free to call or email. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks.